Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski, and we are live in the studio with an old friend, Mr. Tom Keser, who is works for Snyder Civil Engineering, and he is, I believe, is that a draftsman now? Is that?
Yes, as I have always been.
All right. How you doing, Tom? Thanks
Good.
for coming down. I appreciate it. So, tell me how you wound up getting into the water industry. I know you have a storied career in a variety of occupations, all around drafting and so forth. So tell me where it all started.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to school to be a professional draftsperson.
Uh-huh.
Worked in the field, taught in the field.
Yeah.
And just by chance saw on LinkedIn that Snyder Civil was looking for CAD persons.
Uh-huh.
So being I'll say a little more seasoned person.
Yeah.
I wrote a cover letter and resume and mailed it in and
Uh-huh.
promptly heard nothing.
Okay.
About 6 months later, Donnie gives me a call, and
Mm-hmm.
I know we were on the phone maybe an hour.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. So now, prior to working, what did you do? What did you do prior to Donnie now?
Prior to Snyder,
Yeah.
I've worked in machine drafting.
Okay.
My first job as a draftsman was at New Britain Machine,
Okay.
and I did tool design.
Uh-huh.
Worked up into machine design.
Okay.
From there, I kind of migrated over to civil.
Okay.
I was going to Hartford Tech at night,
Okay.
studying civil engineering,
Okay.
and ended up at a division of White Oak called National Eastern,
Okay.
and they built bridges.
Uh-huh.
Worked for them a number of years. And
Wow.
things kind of got slow there, so I ended up migrating into teaching. And
Okay.
I taught architectural mechanical drafting for 5 years after that.
Okay.
Kind of have always been in the field related to my trade.
Uh-huh. Now, you graduated from Portland, too, correct?
No,
No?
I went to Vinyl Tech.
Vinyl Tech. Okay.
Yep.
Tom, pull the mic just in a little bit towards. There you go. Okay, that's good. Okay. So, when you went to vinyl, I mean, I know they have trade choices there. What trade did you? I know they give you a sampler tour when you get in there, don't you, or something?
Yeah, every I don't know how it is now, but back then,
Yeah.
back in the days of paper,
Yes.
every incoming student had to go through an exploratory program and sample all the different trades.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I knew what I wanted
Yeah.
when I went there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. As a kid, I would read the Hartford Current Home section,
Yeah.
and they always had plans in there.
I remember those.
Yep.
I remember those. Yeah.
And I would just sit there and study them, and in junior high school they did aptitude testing,
Right. Yeah.
and I tested high for spatial thinking.
Uh-huh.
It's about all the thinking I do.
Uh-huh.
So I had in my mind that I wanted to go into architecture, be an architect,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't offered at Vinyl at the
Okay.
time. It was all machine-related drafting.
Okay.
But it's a language. You learn
Sure.
how to communicate through symbols and line work, and you can adapt it to different fields.
Sure. Now, what technology did they have over there then? Was it CAD key or was it?
There was not CAD back then.
There was.
We had a slate and chalk now.
Yeah, well, but when we had at Portland, we used to have the drafting tables.
Yeah, it was all board based, paper,
Yeah.
vellum, mylar.
Yeah.
My first couple jobs, all on the board.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow.
Didn't see a computer until, I don't know, 82.
Is that right? Wow. Wow. And now, what was the first piece of technology out there now? I mean, what's AutoCAD? Is that pretty much the standard now?
So when I was teaching, I taught at Porter and Chester Institute.
Okay.
And Porter and Chester had developed their own CAD program.
Oh, okay.
We were actually using flashcards to kind of teach, this is what CAD will be like in the future.
Oh, okay.
And while I was there, I think it was 1982, Autodesk came out with version 1 of AutoCAD.
Okay.
So we picked that up and ran with it because it was certainly less work than developing your own system and programming. And so we ran with AutoCAD. I got sent away to AutoCAD school and became the first certified instructor in the state.
Wow.
Way back when. And it's so totally different now.
I can imagine. Well, technology moves so quick. It's like, wow. You blink your eyes and, we're on the next version, you're on the next version. And, it's just like, Windows. We first started out with computers. It was like DOS, and then we went to Windows 95, and then 98, and then 2000, and now you're up to Windows 11. Now it's like crazy. So
yeah, well, back then we were running IBM DOS, PC DOS, CPM 86, and they were all on Victor 9000 desktop computers, which they were good back then. But finicky. If something broke, you fixed it yourself.
Yeah. And of course the processing chips nowhere near the speed that.
Oh my God! Yeah, the graphics card was as bigger than some desktops are today.
Yeah, it's true. It's kids today don't realize that you have more technology in your back pocket on your phone than we had back in the day in the
definitely,
computer. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So transgressing into that and getting into the water industry. I mean, what software are you using now? As far
we're using Autodesk products. We use Civil 3D, which works great, with infrastructure, some automated routines. You lay out a water main and do automatic stationing, generate profiles fairly quickly. You can get by without that, but it's nice to have that power.
Sure. Now, do you utilize any of the Yukon, GIS mapping and so forth?
Yes,
overlay?
we do. So Snyder's had several different GPS collection devices. We had Trimble Geo7X, TDC 650, which is newer to us. We just started using those. R2 units. So the TDC 650 we're using is really nice. We were talking with the client this morning. I got all excited at how easy it is to use. You get live data right on your monitor. Couple clicks, you can download all the information and import it right into your CAD program, and all the points are there. It's just connect the dots.
Yeah. Initially, I with my Town Tech program at the high school years ago, we bought a Trimble, and I had my students. We went out and they basically GPSed all the critical infrastructure in the town. From the standpoint of catch basins, manholes, valves, and so forth, and that hydrants. And all of that, and that we still use that today. As far as that goes. And the nice thing about our Trimble, you could take when you locate it, then you can take a picture of it and insert that, in the right in the GIS map. As far as that, so it was pretty cool. But and then we actually digitized 169 169 Mylars for the town with a puck on a on a digitizing tablet. That was all fun and games.
Yeah.
As far as that, but that's great. So the projects that you're working on pretty much now are basically pipeline projects, pump houses, or how's that?
Yeah, well, the company does pipeline, pump houses, processing. My role is primarily records. I manage our records department.
Okay.
Collection of all the data, interpreting it, putting it into a records drawing.
Okay.
Some people say as-built.
Yeah.
And then, getting all that documentation, making sure it's in order, and our different clients have different requirements as to what they like to see.
Yeah.
So it's myself and I have two other people that work with me doing the records, and it's busy.
Well, like I say, I think you guys have done, broken into the water industry, and as I could tell my students, the careers, and that's one of the reasons why I launched this podcast is that, a lot of times, and I was talking with Downey earlier today, and it's just, all of the guests, I think we're up to like 65 podcasts, and, over 75% of the people that I interview got into the water industry by accident. It's not something I'm getting out of high school and going to I want to be a water operator, or I want to be this, and these are the careers you don't know about. The umbrella in the water industry is just so large. And to go from being a draftsman to equipment operator to a customer service or whatever, it's a big industry, and the thing is that these jobs that we're trying to fill, I mean, you and I are close to the same age, but we're getting on in years, and it's time that we're going to be sunsetting and moving on. So we got to start refilling the pipeline, so to speak, with some younger blood.
Yeah, definitely. It's I'll say a challenge at times trying to find people to come in.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. People don't really, and the neat thing about it, this is an industry, as far as both yours and I've been involved in the industry. I'm going to be retiring in January with 50 years of service with the town, and who would you thought you'd be there that long? And but you accumulate a lot of how should I say, institutional knowledge, so to speak. So there's a lot of knowledge base. When I walk out the door, you walk out the door. That younger employees don't have that knowledge base. I mean, they have maybe a lot of the technical skills and so forth, but to put those technical skills to work and to utilize it in, like I say, under that water industry umbrella, it's sometimes it takes a little bit of coaxing, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me when I was 20 what I would be doing, never would have guessed anything in the water industry. But it's pretty cool. I mean, you turn on your tap at home and get water, you take it for granted, but there's so much work and thought that goes into getting the water there.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, having to be an engineer.
Right.
There's plant operators, there's administrative people.
Sure.
Number crunchers. I mean, I love working with spreadsheets and trying to automate the process so that we can work more efficiently. And,
and that's the bottom line. I mean, technology has moved so quickly within the industry, and automation, from a standpoint of, SCADA systems and, all of that type of thing. Last month, middle of July, I taught a water boot camp for the Metropolitan District in Hartford, and we had 11 high school students from their area towns, and it was eye-opening for them and they were very engaged. They were a great bunch of students, But to take them around to tour the various facilities that MDC runs, as far as from a standpoint of wastewater, water engineering, GIS, customer service. I mean, they have vehicle maintenance up there. They have a whole fleet of industry, as far as that goes, that, they have to maintain a meter shops and all that. And it's, a vast array of potential occupations. And, not all of them you need college degrees for, and not everybody's made to go to college.
True.
And that's one of the things. So, if you were to give some advice to a high school senior, college freshman, what would you say?
Tough question. Think.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. It's not just what you learn. There's so many opportunities in any career to, you could pick the straight and narrow, but there's so many branches off there, and it boils down to using your head and thinking about what you're going to do, what you want to do, know where to look for answers, or learn to know where to look for answers.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things I tell all of my students, as far as that goes, never underestimate the power of networking, because you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to run into that, that you may need, or they may need you.
Sure.
As far as that goes, you can, I know that guy, or he knows me, or so forth. And all of a sudden you get a phone call, hey, you remember me, and that is so powerful, because, networking is, grossly underestimated.
I had different trade shows, seminars, workshops, all that is good.
Yeah, to see what's out there. And the nice thing about this industry too is it's the type of thing that we can't outsource. You can't outsource across the pond. I mean, you need operators, with boots on the ground to make things run and so forth. I mean, you guys. How many inspectors that you guys have for your work?
Gosh, I don't know. It's more every year.
Yeah. Managing the different projects that you guys are, overseeing, and so forth, because you guys are involved with, most of the major water utilities.
Yeah, we are.
Connecticut Water, Aquarion, MDC. Regional Water.
Middletown.
Yeah, Middletown. Wow. And that, Middletown is still, again, it's similar to us. I mean, they're the types of water industry. Obviously, you've got the investor-owns like Connecticut Water and Aquarion, but you've got the regionals, or what they call quasi-publics, which are MDC and regional, and then you've got the small or smaller municipalities and so forth. And it's every facet of each one of those industries has its own intricacies, as far as that goes. But putting pipes in the ground and building a distribution system to get that water to your house, not to mention making sure that water is clean, safe drinking water. Okay, it's an endeavor, and there's a lot that goes on behind it.
There is. I mean, putting the pipe in the ground. From my end at our business is documenting where things are. Sometimes, like being a forensic scientist, you get a stack of papers, and records, and notes, and decipher, and
Well, I remember when I first started, and I worked for the water department all the way through high school, all the way through college, and there was no such thing as CAD, or there was no such thing as GIS. I mean, you wanted to know where your curb box was in the house. There was a little 3x5 card in a file cabinet with, measurements. Okay, it's 26 feet out from the house, 6 foot left of left side, and so you're lining up the house as far as that goes, and then you're trying to find a curb box, and what size main is in the street. Is it is it asbestos cement? Is it cast iron? Is it galvanized? One of the biggest initiatives now that that's happening in the industry is obviously the lead and copper surface lines. It's a big push on there.
Sure.
Identifying them, and then you got to replace them. The old lead goosenecks, and fortunately, we don't have that many lead pipes per se from the main to the house, but we got quite a few lead goosenecks that are still on the ground, and those are considered lead service lines. So now how do you guys identify those? I mean, do you when you're drafting up the plans, you put the pipe material and all that?
Yeah, typically we'd see that more on the service side.
Mm-hmm.
So each client has their own variation of a service line card, but that material gets noted on there, size and length material.
Yeah. Now, are you finding more companies have migrated to SCADA systems and so forth, or do you do any designing on the SCADA interfaces at all?
Myself, I don't. I live and breathe in the afterlife end of a project.
Nice. Unbelievable. So, okay.
I know our engineering group does more of that.
Yeah. Well, we're just starting to go down that road in the town of Portland. We're just, finally got a SCADA contractor that we're working with to, automate system, because, if you have SCADA, which is the supervisor control and data acquisition, if you had an alarm, you get a phone call, you had to go in and find out, okay, what the alarm is. Now with the SCADA systems, you can, somebody that has a laptop can dial in, find out what the problem is, and a lot of times you can fix it.
Laptop or your smartphone.
Yeah, exactly. From that standpoint. So great. All right. Well, great, Tom. I appreciate you coming in. So getting to what do you like to do for fun? I know I heard through a little birdie that you like you're a brewmaster.
Oh yes, I've been brewing since 1996.
All right.
Yep.
Now, what's the flavor du jour? You do IPAs? You do what?
I actually have a house list.
Okay.
Because anyone that wants to, I'll teach how to brew.
Okay.
It's such a fun hobby. So I have a list of like 35 different flavors, if you will.
Okay. Nice.
My personal favorite out of all the ones I've done is a vanilla porter.
Nice.
And then, of course, there's always local beer.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes the fun out of brewing your own, but it's certainly easier to walk down to the local brew pub and
what's on draft?
Yep.
So walk me through the brewing process. What does that entail?
First of all, you need water.
See,
right?
Bada bing.
Water, grain, hops, and yeast.
Okay. Now the mechanism that puts all of that stuff together,
So the process would involve coming up with your grain bill.
Yep.
Grinding it, then you mash it. So you're taking ground up grains and soaking them in hot water. It's heated to a certain temperature.
Okay.
For a certain length of time,
you
extract or convert the starches to sugar.
Okay.
You draw that water off, boil it, we'll say for an hour. It's typical.
Yeah.
And then you add hops in various amounts at various times to impart different flavors. They also act as a preservative.
Okay.
And then cool that down rapidly, add the yeast.
Yep.
And there's scores of different types.
Okay.
And each one will impart different characteristics. Some are appropriate to IPAs, some are, better designed for sour beers.
Okay.
It all depends on what you're making.
Nice.
So you add the yeast, and then it's got to age. Typically, we'll say a week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
You can lager it, which is just cold storage, and then bottle or keg.
Okay.
So typical brew day is about 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
Then the hard part, waiting.
Okay.
Then you either you can rack it off and let it settle out more to clarify, or bottle or keg. And that's a few hours of doing that.
But
it could be a month, before you can drink it.
And don't forget the quality control.
Yes, there is sampling.
Now, typically, what do you normally do for quantities when you brew a batch?
I typically do 5 gallons at a time. I can do up to 15.
Okay.
But I bottle exclusively. I don't keg beer.
Okay.
So if you have 15 gallons to bottle, it's a long day.
Yeah. Now, do you brew every week, or do you? What's
not anymore? I was at my peak. I was brewing every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I would brew the next week. I would bottle, brew, bottle.
Okay.
But then you don't have much of a life outside of that, and then with the wife and kids, it gets harder.
Now, does Beth take part in this at all?
Beth likes beer.
Yeah.
She will tell you that.
Okay.
She does not like my beer. I think I've only coerced her once into trying it.
Uh-huh.
And it's because it is a little odoriferous.
Okay.
As you're brewing and when you add the hops. And I did have an accident in the house one time with the stove, and my pot boiled over.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, it was a mess. It stunk.
And it took a while for that to dissipate.
Yes, yeah. So she remembers that.
Yeah.
That one time out of how many years since '96?
Yeah, wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, as you know, I'm into music. So, what's your favorite genre of music? Do you have any favorite bands?
Yes, I would say Pink Floyd.
Okay. Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Deep Purple, I've always been a fan of.
Okay.
Any kind of blues.
Okay. Nice.
B.B. King, Stevie Ray.
Yeah. Yeah, those are, we typically ask, okay, what's your desert island albums? Okay, if you got stuck on a desert island, what albums would you keep with you? And so forth. But that answers that.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Okay, the next thing is your desert island food. What would be your desert island food that you could eat every day?
A Led Zeppelin dog.
Nice. Okay, a Led Zeppelin dog. I've never.
Black dog, cooked till it's charred.
There you go. Okay, well, now we know what a Led Zeppelin dog is. Fantastic. All right. So the last thing, from a standpoint, do you remember your first concert you went to?
I do.
Okay. And what was that? It
was Deep Purple.
Okay.
At Dillon Stadium.
Hey.
And the opening bands were Aerosmith.
Ooh.
And Elf.
Wow.
Which was interesting because Elf then became Rainbow with Richie Blackmore.
Okay, yeah. Wow. We've had many people on the podcast that have frequented Dillon Stadium. I mean, Led Zeppelin played there. I mean, the Stones played there. It was they had quite an array of talent that went through Hartford.
Oh yeah.
At one time, it was great. Fantastic. So that's great.
Yeah, Dillon Stadium, and then Stage West or the Agora.
Yeah, the Agora. Yeah. I can remember that. Played there a few times. That's crazy. But anyway, the case. All right, Tom, thank you so much for stopping down and giving us a little insight of what your day job was at and how you got into the water industry. So
thank you for having me.
All righty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Keser was in the house this afternoon. Okay, Tom is working for Snyder Civil Engineering as a draftsman, and gave us a little insight of how he wound his way into the water industry. So, Tom, thank you so much, and we will catch you next time.